All right, guys, welcome back to Rivers and Recurves. This is going to be part 2 of the series. So let's get right into it. For those of you who saw, I released another video, but I took it down because I thought it was kind of confusing based off some of the feedback I got, as well as I didn't address everything that I should have. And I don't want to give you guys information unless it's the best information. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. All right, so like I said, the last time I did this video, I forgot to cover a couple things, and I think before we begin, we got to start off with the basics, right? So when you're shooting, you really want a nice foam block that hasn't been shot up a whole lot. As you can see, like this one, it's been shot up a little, but it's not too bad. Or a hay bale works great. I picked up the hay bale from Tractor Supply. I think it was like 15 bucks. It's pretty cheap, and they work very well for recurves. I wouldn't use it on a compound. Number 2, you want to make sure that you're about level to the target, right? So this one is only about, chest level for me. So I'm going to have to kneel down when I shoot, or you just got to keep in mind that if I'm shooting down on it, my arrows might look like they're kicked up a little bit when in reality they're not. And last but not least, guys, you really want to focus on your form throughout this. So I know I'm making a quick video for you so you can watch it, and it's only going to be 5 to 10 minutes long, and then you can go out and replicate this and do it on your own bows. But while you're doing this, don't rush through it. Take your time and concentrate on your form, okay? Make sure you're not plucking the string. Make sure you're kind of following back through. Make sure you're pushing your bow arm towards the target. Just focus on your form, because if your form's messed up, then you're not going to be able to get a consistent result. Now, the good news is we're not doing bare shaft tuning. I decided against it. I figured it's just going to mess you guys up. And so what that does is it's going to leave a little more room for error in there, okay? Just make sure you do everything in like a 3-shot group, and go for your average. Don't base everything off of just one shot. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to get our nock height. When you're tuning, you always get the nock height first, and then you go in and you correct the spine of the arrow, okay? Or you correct the stiffness of the arrow. So to start off, if you have one of the tools to actually measure the nock height, I think generally it's 3/8. I don't have one, nor do I really even use one, because they're not always accurate, and you got to tune the bow anyway. So I'm starting, you can see it's just nock high, start nock high, and then what I'll do is I'll just take a shot and judge the shot, and then I'll slowly just creep my way down the string, okay? And I'll keep tying in little nock points, and then I'll just cut off the ones I'm not using when I'm done. A couple more things to remember, guys. You want to start at about 5 to 10 yards. If you start further than that with fletched arrows, you risk the chance of getting a false reading, meaning that arrow is going to correct itself, and it's going to overcorrect itself a little bit. And then what you might think is too stiff of an arrow might be too weak, just because it's gone back and forth both ways. Also, I know I said we're starting with fletched arrows. However, for the nock height, I really like to start with a bare shaft. I feel like it just shows me better what's going on. All right, first shot, we're at about 8 yards. As you can see, we are really nock high. So if the end of the arrow is pointed up, it means you're nock high. If the end of the arrow is pointed down, it means you're nock low. Now, I will caution you, if you go too far in either direction, you're gonna get false readings again. So don't start super high, but you can see in the video how high I started. Start about there and just work your way down. So all we're gonna do now is we're gonna go down a slight bit, and we're gonna tie in another nock. We're not going crazy. This is not a permanent nock for us. We'll tie one of those in later. Second shot. We're still pretty nock high, so we're going to go down a little bit more and try again. Hopefully third time's a charm. So we're actually slightly nock low. I'm going to tie in just above it, and we'll take one more shot to verify. All right, so the height on that was perfect. Now we're gonna worry about our left and right. So we're gonna start off with a 400 spine arrow and just a 100 grain tip to start. I didn't mention it, but you're gonna need a variety pack of field tips as well. EPA pack cost me about $10 and came with, I don't know, 7 different tips in it, ranging from 100 grain all the way up to 300 grain. So when you're shooting, there's a couple things you wanna remember. When you're trying to adjust for your left and right movement, all you're doing is changing the spine of the arrow, right? And you're doing that by adding weight to the front, the back, cutting the arrow down, whatever the case is. So in this case, this arrow is too stiff. And I can tell because the back end is not right, but the arrows are going to tend to group to the left. And I think that's what I misspoke on in the last. And if you're watching the slow-mo, what's happening is the arrow is coming off the riser and it's not flexing around it enough. So then the tip of the arrow is bouncing off to the left. So I already know this is too stiff, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to put a 300 grain field point, which is the most I can put on the front of this with the variety pack that I bought. And I'm going to show you the results. All right, 300 grain field tip, let's get it. Like I predicted, we're still not right. There's nothing I can do at this point to fix it with this arrow, so I got to go down to a 500 spine arrow. 500 spine arrow, I've got a 100 grain tip on there. Let's see how it does. Just barely knock right. At this point, I'm gonna go up by, I don't know, 50, 75 grains, something like that, and we'll shoot again, and I think we're gonna be right on the money. All right, as we can see, this arrow is perfectly straight. We are good. What I'm gonna do now is, I'm gonna take a couple shots to confirm it. So I'll take a 3-shot group just to make sure that we're on. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna step back to 15 and then 20 yards to make sure that the arrows are still flying straight beyond the 10-yard point. So this is why we do a 3-shot group, guys. See these 2 arrows on the outside? They're looking perfect. This one in the middle, not so much. I plucked the string on that, and I knew I plucked the string on that, but if you're just starting out, you might not be able to feel when you make a mistake like that. So I'm happy with this. I'm gonna move back now to 15 and 20 yards, take a couple shots, and we'll go from there. All right, 15 yards, we're still looking pretty good. This arrow, I think it's probably the same one as last time, is not looking as good as the other ones. It's kicked out a little differently. Once again, I could have plucked the string, I don't know, so I'm actually gonna mark the arrow this time just to be sure that it's not me. Maybe there's something wrong with the arrow, I don't know, but I'm gonna mark it. The other 2 are looking good at 15, so we're gonna move back to 20 and shoot another group. 20 yards, let's get it. I'm happy with this, guys. We're shooting pretty good. This is actually more like 21, 22 yards, but we're shooting really good. I got a pretty solid group. But I want to reiterate, don't focus so much on aiming. And when you get back to 20 yards, you're going to have to aim, but focus more on your form, focus on your release, focus on pushing your bow hand forward towards the target, you know, all that good stuff. Focus on that. Don't focus on where you're aiming necessarily. So if you have a bigger target, it's going to be advantageous for you. All right, I hope you guys learned something today. I hope you take this method with you and you can tune your arrows in 5 to 10 minutes. Just a reminder, don't get frustrated. If you get frustrated, put the bow down and then come back to it later. It's going to be the easiest thing. And that goes for even if you're just shooting at night and you can't hit, like you're going to have nights where you just can't hit your target. You know, put the bow down and come back. But anyway, thanks for watching. In the next episode, I'm gonna get right into my specific hunting builds for arrows, and we'll start talking about some of that stuff, and I'll talk about why I build my arrows the way I do. So thanks again, and I hope to see you next time.